Hello and welcome to the unit tutorial for History Year 6 Unit 1 Ancient Greece. This is video part 2 of 2. My name is Megan Latchford and I'm a Design Lead at Art Curriculum Plus for Primary History, Geography and Science. This video will walk you through the following areas: how to adapt activities and lessons, how to plan for the Enquiry Question, and key moments within the unit to look out for. A great resource to use to adapt pupil activities in this unit is the online ebook workbook. I'm going to show you a demonstration of how to use the ebook to adapt activities, and here I'll be using a Year 3 science workbook, but this video applies to all year groups and subjects. To access the ebook workbook for this unit, log into Oxford OWL and select the year group and subject you want. In this case, Science Year 3, but for your case, History Year 6. The first resource on the list is the ebook, and this is an exact copy of the pupil workbook. Use the arrows to scroll through the pages. You can find all the units for your subject within this ebook, just like in the physical copy. Select the activity you want to adapt by using the snipping tool and highlighting that section. You may be familiar with the snipping tool, but it can be found by searching in the search bar or simultaneously pressing Windows, Shift and S. Drag your mouse to highlight the area you want to copy, and that section of your screen will be copied onto your clipboard. And now you can press Paste, and that section will be pasted onto the document you want. Sometimes you may find that Word works best, and sometimes perhaps Publisher. I like to use Word for the Draw tool if I want to highlight anything or write in handwriting, and Publisher is quite good for moving around text boxes and shapes. Now you can adapt the activity in any way you want. Here you can see I'm actually adding an extra label, but adapt the activity to the needs of your class. Then you can print this out and stick it on top of the activity in the pupil workbook. Every lesson starts with a knowledge quiz except for lesson 1, and they can be implemented in a variety of ways, which entirely depends on what works best for your class. They are an important step to check for understanding and address any misconceptions, so try not to miss them out. We've found from teacher feedback that most teachers teach these quizzes with pupils sat at desks, independently answering the questions. And this is great if this works for your pupils, and keep doing if so. But there are other options if you feel this isn't the best method for your class. You could read through the questions and options as a whole class and go through each question and answer one by one, breaking it down into bite-sized chunks. You may wish to start the year with pupils answering these questions as a whole class by showing a number on their hands, for example 1, 2, 3 and 4. To keep track of answers this way, you could keep a record of the general consensus the class has come to, or even make a note in the workbook you've kept aside as a teacher copy. As the year progresses, you may wish to make these knowledge quizzes more independent. The aim of the knowledge quiz is to assess the new learning from the previous lesson, and you can adapt this to any method which best suits your class. This is a workbook activity for lesson 1. I'm going to run through some of the activities in the workbook from lessons 1 to 6, but we don't have time for all the activities, so I'll give suggestions on how you may adapt them, and these ideas can be transferred to other activities in the workbooks or slides. You don't have to use my examples or even adapt at all, but these are suggestions for ways in which you could. In this activities, pupils analyse a source using the questions who, where, what and why to guide them. To support pupils, you could use the answer slide to create information boxes for pupils to read and sort through like these ones on the right. For the right activity beneath, pupils are required to fill in the 3 blank lines. To support pupils here, you could give pupils a more structured response space. For example, here they have to read through the 2 sentences and tick the correct answer. To challenge pupils, you could ask them a question such as, Minoans were sophisticated, true or false? For this activity in Lesson 2, pupils use the information about Greece's land to complete the crossword. To support pupils, you could highlight keywords in the text. To take it a step further, you could add the starting lessons or even letters within the word to the crossword. For this next Lesson 2 activity, pupils are asked to decide on their own ideas about what makes each government unfair. To support pupils, you could offer them cards to stick in or a resource to use based on the suggested answer slide. To challenge pupils, you could ask them a question such as, do you know which way today's government in the UK is run? To demonstrate how the ancient Greeks began a way of governing that is still used today. In Lesson 3, pupils need to shade in the timeline using the key to show why the classical period was called the Golden Age of Greece. To support pupils, reduce the amount of reading in each box and keep the key information only to support comprehension. For the right activity beneath, if necessary, heavily support pupils by giving them one aspect of the timeline with options to tick why this contributed to the Golden Age of Greece. Challenge pupils with the question, when else in history have you learnt about a country's golden age? To create links to the Year 5 unit, Baghdad and the Middle East, where pupils learnt about the golden age of Islam. If using this question, use the Year 5 resources to have an example answer prepared. In Lesson 4, pupils need to read through the information about Athens and Sparta, then compare them by sorting through the facts and writing them up in the Venn diagram. To support pupils, you can simply highlight the key information in the text in the same colour, or colour coordinate with the circles of the Venn diagram, blue, green and yellow, to direct pupils to what the key information is and where it might go. Alternatively, you could use the facts beneath the diagram to create labels for people to read, sort and stick in. Challenge pupils by asking a question such as, would you rather have lived in Athens or Sparta and why? In Lesson 5, pupils read through the information in the text to complete the table about Alexander the Great. Again, you could use the highlighting tool to direct pupils towards key information, and again, you could colour code the information so pupils are supported further. You could do this for all the boxes or perhaps just the first few. You could also create information boxes from the answer slide for pupils to read, sort through and stick into the correct answer space. Challenge pupils by asking a question such as, do you think Alexander was great? Why? In Lesson 6, pupils as a group research an area of Greek culture and its influence, making notes in their workbook. For this activity, you could decide on the aspect you want that pupil to research and create answer boxes from the slide for pupils to read and stick through. You could also highlight key areas from the corresponding text. Challenge pupils by asking them a question such as, which area of ancient Greek life influence do you find most interesting and why? To recap, this is the inquiry question for this unit. Lesson 6 is only an hour to provide time within the lesson for pupils to complete this activity. How pupils complete this end of unit assessment is decided by your school, year group or class teacher. So now is a great time to think ahead to plan for what this will look like. To support teachers with implementing the inquiry question, we've created an inquiry question support document. Here you can find the information you will need and an additional activity for pupils to complete. This could support them as a planning activity, be a recap of the entire unit knowledge to refresh memories before the assessment, or be edited into the assessment itself. The inquiry question support document for this unit can be found with the other resources on Oxford OWL. Pupils can answer the inquiry question in a variety of ways. They could answer it as an extended write, a poster, a presentation, a question paper, a multiple choice quiz, or whatever best suits your class. For every unit, there are elements that will need to be planned in advance for the class teacher. You will need to plan an engaging hook. You could show photographs, read a story, show a video, or something more creative. You may need to print off any additional resources per lesson. Not every lesson will have an additional resource, so make sure you check before you teach. You also need to read the unit planning guide to ensure that you have resources prepared for any upcoming activities. Here's a list of possible trips and recommended reading for pupils. You can pause the video here to read through the lists. Hopefully you now feel confident about accessing and teaching this unit. Any questions, please send to primarymastery@curriculumplus.org.uk, and we welcome all feedback to ensure that these resources are as supportive as possible for you and your pupils.